Okay, I want to do a video because there's some people that are consistently missing the midpoint and distance. Now, some people aren't doing it, so it's for these people too. The Khan Academies that are due Thursday, September 24th. All right, some of the people that have tried it are struggling on certain ones, so I do want to cover those to help those people out. But if you haven't done it, chances are you're probably going to struggle with it, so I want to help you with that too. The two assignments that are due are midpoint formula and distance. So I'm going to do a midpoint formula, and this is one that 5 people have missed. So this is one that is popularly missed. And here's why. The midpoint formula is, and if you need that, that's what those 4 assignments were. 2 of them were notes. One of them was a notes on the midpoint formula. So it's your add your x's, take half, add your y's, take half. And it doesn't matter if this is x1, x2, it doesn't matter. You're going to add your x's, take half, add your y's, take half. The problem with this one is M is the midpoint. So this point M is the midpoint. So it's not, I use point A, which is -5, -4, and then point M is 0. And I think this is giving people problems too, because this is actually 3.5, -3.5. So we'll go with -3.5. So you don't do x1, y1, x2, y2. That's not what you do, because M is the midpoint. So basically what it's saying is, okay, I got a line that runs from A through M. That's the midpoint. And it wants to know what is this other point on this side. Point B would be on this side to make M in the middle. So if you have a diagram, the best thing to do, and you will on all these, is slope. So if this is the midpoint and I get the slope of it and I just do it again, I'm going to get the other point. I'm going to get point B. So again, this is a half. So with this, I'm going up a half and over 5. So it's rise a half. Again, I'm going from here to here, that's half, and then I'm running 5. So it's up 0.5 over 5. Well, I do the same thing to get to the B. So from here, I'm going to go up a half, which gets me to -3, and then over 5, which is right here on that line. All right, and that coordinate is 5, -3. Okay, so the people that, here's your answers. So there's 5 in your response 2, which would be the y value, would be -3. The people that did -2.5, I know what you did, okay, and it's a popularly missed way to do this, is you took that as a point and that as a point, you tried to find the middle. That's not what this question is. Now, most of the questions you have, it'll give you A, it'll give you B, and you need to find the middle. This one is different, and you're going to have a few of these on the kind of categories you do. Okay, again, I think there's 4 on the midpoint. You got to get at least 70%. You got to get 3 out of 4. So that's popularly missed midpoint questions. So we'll do one more. Now this one actually, A and B are the points. You need to find the midpoint. It is right here. So you could do formula. You could do the midpoint formula. Right, add the x's, take half, add the y's, take half. Well, here's x1, y1. We'll call B the second point, x2, y2. So you add your x's, which is -1 plus 7, take half. Add your y's, take half. And you just kind of do your, if you need calculator, use calculator. So that's 6. -1 plus 7 is 6. Half of 6 would be 3. That's 11. 8 plus 3, 11. Half of 11 is 5.5. Now you can do 5.5, which is what they have here. So that's 3, 5.5. Not sure why people miss that. But when you do this, and you say, okay, that's the midpoint, that point better be on that line, or that line segment. If it's not, then something's wrong. So it's 3, 5.5 on that line. Yes, it's right there. And that looks about in the middle. So when you get your answer, make sure it makes sense. So like 2 people put 5 as your X value. Well, if 5 is your X value, then it's going to hit right there. So it's a little more than 4. Well, for one thing, that's not in the middle. That doesn't make sense. That's not close to the middle. So when you get your answer, plot it and make sure it makes sense. Okay? So that's using the formula. Now, if you would rather do this, and this is actually how it's described to you. If I do slope, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm rising 5, and I'm running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm rising and running 8. Midpoint is half of that. So half of 5 is 2.5. So I'm rising 2.5. That's 1, 2, and then a half. All right, that's 2.5. And half of 8 is 4. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I hit right there if you want to do it that way with the graph. So with that, you can use formula or you can use graph. But be careful with those where it gives you the midpoint. Okay? That you're trying to find the midpoint. This one, it gives you the midpoint, gives you M. Gives you A and M. M is here, A, so B should be somewhere around here. Well, just rise and run, and then just do it again to find the other one. So this one, we'll just go ahead and do it. I'm gonna rise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over 1. Just do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over 1. Right there is point B. Right, there is an algebra way to do it. It takes a little longer. If you got a graph, just do it that way. If on test you don't have a graph, get some graph paper, graph it, do it this way. So this B, point B, will be -5, 5. So if you get to that question. All right, so there's midpoint questions. So some people that have tried it and you're missing 3 or 4, that's usually one of them, so please be careful with that. All right, the next assignment that is due tomorrow, Thursday, September 24, is distance. Distance between 2 points. For the most part, we're okay with these. Right? X1, Y1, X2, Y2, and you put it in the distance formula. If you don't know the distance formula, that's what those other exercises are. Those other assignments are ones where it gives you the notes. So if you don't know it, go to those notes. At the top, it'll give you the distance formula, and then you plug it in. We're usually okay with those. We've been okay with those, right? X1, Y1, X2, Y2. All these we're pretty good at, okay? These are the ones we kind of struggle with. And let me show you why, or why I think it is. There's no coordinates. So there is no X1, Y1, X2, Y2. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this, and you figure out which way you like. When we did distance formula, we talked about it all comes from Pythagorean theorem. Right triangle, A squared, B squared, C squared. So the way you can do it, this is probably the shorter way, is just like I did midpoint. I do rise and run, there's my right triangle. All right, so I'll go 1, 2, 3, and then I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that's a right triangle. I got 2 sides trying to find this third, which would be the hypotenuse. This Pythagorean theorem, that's A, that's B, and I'm trying to find C. Which once I find C, that's going to be my length. So you go A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Just real quick, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. And if I'm going too fast, just do the video over again. That's 25. You know, kind of slow down if you need to write it down. And then I do square root, and the square root of 25 is 5. which should make sense because we have talked about Pythagorean triples, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's what most people are going to do to solve that, is just draw your little triangle. Okay, so the next one that was popularly missed, about 5 people missed that one, is the same thing. So do your triangle, a squared, b squared, find c. Okay, now another way to do it, because the distance formula has coordinates. Well, here's what some people would prefer to do it. If you don't want to do it this way, do the triangle. If I make coordinates, let's say I just make me a coordinate plane. Well, this endpoint is 0, 0. Let's call that A and this B. So just call this point always 0, 0. If that's 0, 0, this is 4, 3. And then you can do x1, y1, x2, y2, use your distance formula, and then you go. So you could choose to do it that way, whatever you want to do. All right, we'll do one real quick. Let's say this is the distance formula. Again, you don't know it, don't remember it. That's why I gave you the notes. This little piece of paper with the folded corner, that's notes. That tells you what everything is. So distance formula is this. x2 minus x1, you could switch these if you wanted to, it doesn't matter. As long as you're consistent. Then you just plug in. So the reason this comes from your Pythagorean theorem is this is going to be whatever your a was. This is going to be whatever you be. So a squared plus b squared, you square root it. So I got x2 is 3 minus 0. This is why we make that 0, because it's just easier. Y2 is 4, and 4 minus 0. That's why we make it 0, because it's just easier. So that's your 3 squared, right? 4 minus 0, 4 squared. Just like we did with Pythagorean theorem in the triangle. Right, you're going to get square root of 25. So if you want to get 5 that way, you can get 5 that way. Excuse me. Okay, so that is a question with distance formula that people have had problems with. The rest of it, most people are okay. They've been doing fine. If you have not started it, I think there's 7 questions on distance. You got to get at least 5 out of 7 to get 70%. Okay, so that's a quick overview. If you haven't got it, or you've tried it and struggled with it, of kind of how to do those. So a reminder, that's due Thursday. Okay, today is, I'm sending this video on Wednesday. That is due Thursday, due tomorrow. Some of you still have stuff to do. Your present absent assignment, that's you should have done. Stuff you need to catch up on other things. You've got a week and a half before fall break, and fall break is the end of the 9 weeks. So we need to get it as soon as possible. If you got any questions, like always, email me.